What's up, everybody? This is Rob, your host of God, Drugs, and Laughs. And this week we have a special co-host. His name is Tupac. I wish. Just kidding, Jonathan. I'm happy you're here as well. This is Jonathan KASSEBAUM. Say hello to the people.
Hello, people. Thanks for having me up here, Rob.
He's very excited. Did you hear that? So Jonathan, just to let you know who he is, one of my best friends in the whole world. We met originally when I was a pastor at a church here in Jacksonville. Jonathan's family moved here, and you wanted to go through the process of becoming a pastor. You failed, by the way. No, I'm kidding. And so that's when we met at the church building, which was a middle school, but building nonetheless. Do you remember that first encounter, Jonathan?
I don't, Rob. Well,
you don't?
Yeah, I don't know that I do. It's not etched in my mind, probably the way it is for you.
Yeah, that's somewhat sad to me because I was going to guess like what went through your head. I'd probably have to say you were saying, "Man, this guy is crazy attractive. I know I won't be the hottest guy in this church." And the second thing was probably like, "This guy is crazy smart. Like, how am I ever going to make it?"
Yeah, I mean,
is that on the radar?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
Okay.
It probably had something to do with, a little bit of beard envy as well.
Beard envy,
I'm sure that was there.
Sorry about that. Beard envy is a big thing that I deal with, and it's part of the process and part of the consequence of having a great beard.
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lose some weight so I can shave it off, because the reason I originally grew my beard was to hide my double chin.
Say it isn't so.
You would have. I mean, my face starts really high. People don't. Yeah, it's weird. So, anyways, Jonathan is here. We might do 2 eps with Jonathan because there's so much to talk about. You probably heard me mention Jonathan before. Jonathan is one of my friends who was really continued to come after me in my addiction, wouldn't let me go. I mean, I remember begging you, dude, just let me go. Quit calling me, leave me alone. So I remember that, and just a lot of other things that we'll get to. But first, I need to tell you the new segment I haven't made a jingle for is a crazy thing my student said this week. So it actually wasn't something that a student said this week. It was something that I had to say to a student. And so I obviously won't tell you what the student's name is. We'll call him Jerry because I don't have a Jerry. And so today I was in class and I'm a teacher of middle school boys. We have 30 middle school boys. And so I had to scream across the class, "Jerry, stop humping the air." Those are things you think you'll never say as a teacher, but I had to say that. And so if you hear me say, "Jonathan, stop humping the air," you know what's going on in here.
I'll make sure I stop.
All right. So we need to get to our first segment, Jonathan. Are you excited?
I am thrilled. What's the first
right.
segment?
Here it is. 5 questions. Ooh. With Rob and Jonathan. Yay. You didn't think I was going to go on without the jingle. Here it is. Welcome to 5 Questions with Matt and Rob. Yeah. Get up out of your seat. Shake it. Number 1. What's the most embarrassing thing that happened to you in any grade of school? So kindergarten through college.
Gotcha. Probably the most embarrassing. Is this like real? Do I answer like for realsies
this is
here?
Real.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
We don't have liars on the show, Jonathan. All right. Give it to us straight.
Yeah, let's see. My junior high, I used to get jumped like every recess. Yeah, and it was like by my friend, which is really weird.
Give
it was
me
like
this
my
guy's
friend
number, and I'm going
right?
over to his house.
And like, it's like when I'd walk down this ramp to go to the playground or whatever it was. It was like 7th and 8th grade, and this band of jerks were down there. One of which was my friend, and then they would just like fake beat me up, but like it hurt. And
Listen.
then it was, so it was like super embarrassing, but I don't know that.
Yeah.
I still don't know exactly how often that happened, but
Sure. I'd like to say that I have sympathy for you, but I went to a school where we had to walk through metal detectors, and this is 30 years ago? So you getting fake jumped at the playground.
it hurt,
That's
Rob.
the most embarrassing
It
thing
hurt,
that happened to you?
Rob.
No, I'm sorry. If you want to give me that friend's name,
Yeah.
I can call him.
will.
We at least prank call him on the show. That'd
for
be
sure.
funny.
For sure.
All right. So my most embarrassing moment probably was I was in middle school, 6th grade. A lot going on in 6th grade, if you know what I'm saying. And I had this girlfriend named Laura. And I decided I'm going to get her initials shaved in the back of my head.
Noble.
And so I did. Unfortunately, 2 days later, we broke up. I like to think that I broke up with her. I really don't remember. But I walked around with her initials in my head for 6 weeks after that? No, I don't know. How long do you get a haircut? But yeah, I was having to make up. Oh, no, it doesn't. That's not her initials. And I would make up stuff that it said. And that was kind of embarrassing.
I've actually got to revisit on that. Can I? Can
Yeah,
I do a
please,
plan
please.
2 there on that one?
Absolutely.
Because I was in talking about like girls, man. I think I was in 4th grade, and we went to Universal Studios.
Oh, and
And-
Jonathan's a really attractive guy, by the way.
This
He
I don't
gets
know how to
embarrassed
answer
when I
that.
say
I don't
stuff
know,
like
yeah.
this. He is.
He
Go ahead.
makes me blush all the time. So we were in California. We went to Universal Studios, and I wanted to get this girl whom was not my girlfriend, just a friend that I had a crush on, and I needed to get her a gift. I wanted to get her a gift, and somehow my parents did not stop me when I walked by the garter belt kiosk. And
how old were you? What grade
this
was
is like 4th grade, bro. So I bought this girl a garter belt, which I don't even know if I knew what that was. And I like left it
You left it on her
left
leg?
it on her front porch. We never talked. We never dated. We never anything. It was
Did she
just
ever
some
say
weird
anything?
stalker. No, I have no idea what she thinks of it.
What was her name?
Oh, her name was
What's
I think it was Michelle Dearborn. I think that's
Yeah.
who that was.
How dare you, Michelle Dearborn?
I know. No
You could have had the
reciprocating.
KASSEBAUM name.
Should have at least given me a garter belt in return or something.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's a bold
So anyway,
move, man.
yeah, super bold. I have weird. Yeah. I blame my parents.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm glad you came back with that one. Even though I'm sad you got jumped. All right, number 2. What is the best type of cheese to you?
Ooh, best type of cheese. This is gonna be really specific.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's Publix stopped carrying it. It frustrates me a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a Castello.
Castello.
Yeah, but you got it's a. I think it's a Havarti. I think maybe. But
Havarti?
yeah.
What does that mean?
It's a type of cheese. You asked me what type of cheese.
so
I'm telling you.
weird.
What do you want me to
know
say?
all this
American
weird stuff.
You want me to say cheese whiz?
So this is
the
a
bacon cheese whiz.
A Harvita?
No, it's Havarti.
Havarti?
Seriously, bro? I need to get you. Anyway, but that's not even it. There's like different numbers. There's like 1 through 5 on like how sharp it is, but you got to get the 5. And it's like in black, and it's incredible. But they
So-
stopped carrying it. Now they only carry like 2 which is for the week.
Ah.
I know.
2 for the week and they can't hold one for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway.
Jerks over there at Publix.
No. But it's
So-
actually really good. Recommend it.
Sharp is like how bold it is in taste.
Yeah.
You know, I
like you're sharp, Rob.
I never even thought about that. I guess in my brain, I always thought it was like the cut. 'Cause it's
like
in
they
a
use
block.
sharp knives.
Yeah. You know, some of them look like a half piece of cake. Some of them are blocks.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so Haverta 5.
Yeah. There you go.
Gouda cheese.
I'll ship some to you or
Okay.
something. Yeah.
Mine would have to be Publix as well. I am a vegan, so I'm not a monster and have cows tortured. I'm just kidding. I am a vegan, but I'm not that kind of vegan. We started doing that because my wife's migraines and we just kind of stuck with it. But they have good vegan cheese over there. Actually, one of my proud moments of being a teacher was this week. This girl in high school stopped me and said, "Mr. Rob, what kind of vegan cheese do you buy?" And that's when I knew I'm making a difference here. I'm changing lives. And so I pointed her to the entirely small, too small section at Publix for her vegan cheese. It's white. That's all I can tell you.
What is it made out of?
You know what?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Not,
Yeah, what's
not,
it made out
not
of?
an animal.
Cardboard. Yeah.
No, I'm just curious. Do you
I
know
really
soy?
don't.
I don't know. You don't even know.
I was trying to make fun of you to cover for my lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
I know a lot of stuff's made out of soybean.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. But before I was a vegan, and let's be honest, I was a vegetarian 2 weeks ago. I go between vegan and vegetarian quite a bit. But I like goat cheese.
That's a good one.
Carrabba's used to have this. I forget, Chicken Brian had some goat cheese on chicken breast. I used to get down on it. Get down on it. That's what they would play when I was there eating. All right. Thanks for that knowledge about cheese, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Who knew? You are a world traveler, so. Okay, number 3. If you were to get a tattoo, what would it be? So I'm asking you this because I'm scheduled my next tattoo. I'm getting it's going to have like on my forearm, which I just realized you can't see it listening to this podcast. It's going to be
It's a beautiful,
skull.
It's a beautiful forearm, by the way.
It's going to be a skull with a line down the middle. And on one side, it is a legitimate skull. I mean, not a real skull. They're not going to implant a skull into my arm. But a skull on one side, and the other side is going to be flowers and things like that, signifying life that looks like a skull. And then the line down the middle is significant because it's to remind me with my addiction, like I have a choice. I can go this way, and this way will lead me to death. And I can go this way, and this way will lead me to life.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah. Anyways, I was surprised to hear that you were thinking about getting a tattoo. So
Well,
what's it going to be?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I am. I don't know, man. Honestly, I think if I get a tattoo, it's only going to be because my wife is getting a tattoo.
Okay.
And I'm sure at that point there will be some sort of symbiotic relationship between those tattoos that they will somehow be interrelated. I don't know if she's planning on like a dragon crawling up her calf or exactly what she's planning on doing, but
Would you see if she'd have the head of the dragon be my face?
well, yeah, I mean, naturally.
Naturally.
I mean, we did talk about doing like, half of your face on my calf and half of your face on her calf.
Shut your mouth. Are you being serious right now? I'm not joking.
I am joking.
Do you know there
And
are
I am
7
not being
fans out there who
serious.
have my name on their... I'm just kidding. I think we have 7 fans. So
Nice.
cool. Well, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. You get a tattoo, maybe I'll go with you. I mean, I got a guy who's really good. So, all right. Question number 4. Let me see what the next question is. Sorry. Oh, what are some of your pet peeves?
Ooh, pet peeves. You sent me these beforehand,
I did.
so that I could
Yeah.
come up with an answer, but I just smarted off and sent you nothingness
Thought I was
because I thought
joking.
you were joking.
These are dumb questions.
so now here I am
Well,
trying
let
to
me
think
answer.
of my pet
Give-
peeves. Yeah, you go first. Let
give me
me
some time
think
to
through,
think.
and I'll just say mine's the same.
This was interesting because last week I learned that my wife handholds her foot, like intertwine, like you hold somebody's hand. She does that to her foot and she sits like that for hours. I had never noticed. And that's the difference between girls and boys, right? All right. Let me see. My pet peeves are...
So that would be a pet peeve of yours? You don't like it when people hold their foot?
Well, no. I just,
Okay.
that's what came out of this.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is a good question.
Gotcha.
One of my pet peeves is when Jonathan calls me when I'm using drugs. That's a big pet peeve.
All right.
You could at least text me. Especially when you ask me, like, where are you? I'm coming to find you.
Those prying questions.
And then it's like a Matt and cows. I don't know what I was going to say. Matt and... I promise I'm not on drugs right now. Cat and mouse is what I was trying to say. Cat and mouse game. But for real, mine's weird. Like when people rub their hands together or like rub their bare feet on carpet.
That was weird.
Gag me with a spoon. That's what I like to say. All right.
All right.
You
So
ready?
that was mine.
Yeah.
See, I was just so entertained by yours. I
Mine were
wasn't
so
really
good.
thinking.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know, this is gonna sound really like cold, I guess, but like people wandering around the middle of a parking lot, like.
Okay.
Like literally, this happened the other day. We as a family were parked in Publix, not parked. We were in like the lane trying to drive, and this lady is pushing her cart, and she's looking for her car, and she is in the middle of the parking lot, like totally unaware that there are automobiles, like big heavy machines driving around.
Really?
You know, so and it kind of
I see what you're saying.
you see what I mean? Like she's just aimless.
I get that.
Or it's people walking diagonal across roads, like in front of Publix. I'm like, dude, perpendicular. Like walk across, get across the road, so that way cars can go. Right? Does that make sense? But did I confuse you as perpendicular?
No, I'm with you on. I'm.
You looked very.
I'm with you on the like people walking aimlessly, like when you turn down the road.
Are you a diagonal walker, Rob?
Sometimes, yeah.
Dude.
You know, I broke my leg a long time ago, and now my left leg is a little shorter than the other one. Thanks for asking. How dare you bring up my disabilities in this podcast when I didn't allow you to do that?
Oh my gosh.
No, but that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, I just think they just don't know
right.
that the world
they're not self-aware.
Is still happening.
People who are not self-aware. Yeah. That's my pet peeve.
Yeah.
For real.
I'm a little more critical than I probably should be, but
yeah, you are. No, I'm just kidding. You're not. Gag me with a spoon. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah. But I don't know where that's from. That's from
I know.
That's a long time ago.
We said it with like in my childhood all the time when something was gross. Gag me with a spoon.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
I saved my favorite for last because you know one of my favorite holidays is coming up. Halloween. Halloween. Jonathan does not let his family celebrate Halloween, so we'll get to that later. Do you, Jonathan KASSEBAUM, believe in ghosts?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Holy Ghost. Hey, bad Christian joke. Gag me with a spoon.
I don't believe in ghosts. But I believe that there's demonic spirits.
Okay.
So maybe we just don't know really the differences, you know? I don't know. I don't believe that there's like, you know, your loved ones from way back when are trying to get a hold of you by knocking books off your shelves and opening up your cabinets. Because I feel like they could do a better job. Right? Like if they're trying to get a hold of you, like, and you can knock a book off a shelf. Like,
but I mean, I think that's just a standard knocking books
way
off
of
shelves
communicating.
And stuff. Like other people have like intimate encounters.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't it always like creepy people in windows and crazy scary things? Like why doesn't somebody like, hey, my ghost came and sat down next to me while I was watching TV the other night and started talking to me? Like that would be
yeah. So I'm a fan of ghost stories and I heard this one, it was on a podcast, and this guy was talking about his wife and said he was out of town and his wife was going to bed and was in the bed, and she literally felt somebody get in the bed next to her.
That's jacked up, man.
And wrap their arms around her. And she's like in fear. And then all she hears was this whisper. Why did she leave me? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, Rob. Yes, I would qualify that as crazy.
All right. So that was a demon. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not.
I'll leave room for saying I don't know.
I honestly don't think I believe in ghosts either. It's just fun to talk about.
Yeah.
But we have a mutual friend named Liz. She sent me this ghost story, and I wanted to share it because we're going to do ghost stories up until Halloween.
Liz Wood.
Did you hear that, Liz? All right, here we go. I'm just going to read it because it freaked me out. It said, I used to live in a small town in Virginia. And there was this big, old, Victorian-looking house. Can I start over? I'm struggling.
This is mine. Is this mine?
Yeah, that's yours. All right. I used to live in a small town in Virginia, and there was this big, old, Victorian-looking house there. We used to joke that it was haunted, but then I found out that it wasn't necessarily just a joke. I worked at a jewelry store, and my friend Bill was there part-time, but he was a full-time real estate agent. His friend lived in the Victorian house. He had bought it for really cheap because he used to be a school... Sorry, I'm having trouble reading this. Or maybe it's just the way Liz typed it. We'll blame it on Liz since she's not here. He had bought it for really cheap because it used to be a school for children whose parents had died during the Civil War. And they were sent to the school and they lived there and were educated and they were wards of the state. Come to find out, there was a lot of abuse going on at the school, and some kids even died there. Well, the guy who bought the house said that at night, are you ready? At night, he would hear the sound of kids crying coming from the downstairs basement. So he would go down there. I guess there's not an upstairs basement, is there? In the basement. I added that downstairs, not Liz. So he would go down to the basement to check it out or to see if there was anybody down there. At first, he thought it was an animal or something. He never found anything, and he called in the exterminators and stuff to try to figure it out. Obviously, he called the wrong person, right? Because when you have a ghost, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Boom! Yeah. Ghostbusters! Whenever he would go down to the basement, he would come back upstairs and all of the lights in the entire house will be on, even though it was in the middle of the night and he had not turned them on. I got the chill bumps. I don't know about you. So he hear these cries, go down in the basement, find nothing, come back up, and every single light in his house would be on. She said, this also started happening in the daytime. Sometimes he would be gone traveling and he would come home and all the lights in the whole house would be on when he got home. So he had an electrician come and check everything out to see if there was an electrical issue in the house. Then she says, I used to drive right past the little Victorian house on my way home every day. So it always gave me the creeps, but I never really believed these stories, or I just chalked them up to, just a ghost story. That's not real. One day I was driving home and it was nighttime because I had been working at the jewelry store at night. And as I'm driving by, I see the whole upstairs lights turn on all at the same time and a child standing in the upper window in the house. So the next day when I saw Bill, I asked him if the guy that was living there had kids. He did not, and he lived alone. Just him and his girlfriend. And they were out of town that week. All right, this has been another episode of God, Drugs, and Laughs. I'm going to go hide away. Do you get chill bumps when you hear that? No? You're a cold-blooded soul, man.
It's creepy, but...
You're cold-blooded.
It's good.
Yeah. All right, so that's our ghost story for the week. And that's our 5 questions of the week. Thank you, Jonathan. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Don't buy my wife a garter when you go to Universal Studios.
Here is your topic of the week.
Our topic of the day is, our title, I guess I should say, When Jonathan Died and Came Back to Life.
Ooh, I'm a ghost.
He is a ghost. What? This is like the end of a M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm recording with a ghost. All right. So Jonathan said he wouldn't tell us about all the illegal drugs he's done. So we're going to just talk about God tonight.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable talking about that one.
Just kidding. I'm sure you've never done anything. So yeah, can you kind of walk us through the story about so first of all, what was happening what was the day like? Do you remember?
Yeah. So I actually took the day off work, and I had actually intended to take the day prior off work, but I ended up having to give a briefing or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. So I ended up taking the day off work and get up and make some cappuccinos, because that's what we do. And
Cappuccino
Melissa and I are in the backyard, and we're chilling, just drinking some cappuccinos, waiting for the day to get going, I guess. And And honestly, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I was hesitating whether I wanted to say it or not, but yeah, like, I don't really remember a whole lot. I remember drinking cappuccinos, and this one's going to be, you seen the movie, I think it's Minor League? Is that Tom Hanks with no, A League of Their Own.
Oh, yeah.
A League of Their Own, right? Tom Hanks. You know how he, like, after he has that all-nighter, and then he, like, uses the restroom. He goes to the bathroom for, like, minutes on end. Yeah. For whatever reason, that happened. I wasn't on the bender or anything, but those are the two memories I have. You have to clarify. Morning, which is really weird.
You have to clarify on this podcast. Yeah, that's funny that you remember that.
And so, yeah, it was because Melissa made fun of me. And so anyway, so we're drinking cappuccinos out there, and then that was, we had some construction workers that were coming in because we had a roof leak. And so they were actually not supposed to get there until like 11 o'clock. But for whatever reason, they showed up at like 9. And so Melissa and I kind of chugged the rest of our cappuccinos and got to work. Because, so they were coming in to do some drywall repair stuff, but we had our septic system failed. So we were getting a new one. And so I had a bunch of work to do that day, which was basically move some electrical conduit that was over our old broken septic tank. And so I had to move that. And so that was kind of why I took the day off work, because I had to get that all ready for the people to come in and install the new system. So that was kind of it was October. I should know the date. Oh my gosh. October 25th, right? I think so. Yes.
So just a normal day.
It was just a normal day. Yeah, I took off, and I was just going to do some yard work, and we had some contractors that were there, and yeah. Melissa's going to go to the gym, and
I was going to say Melissa left, right?
Yeah. So Melissa goes to the gym with our oldest, Kylie, and Ava's sleeping, and Juliet's up, and she's kind of helping me, flip breakers and trying to help me move the conduit. I had to kind of diagnose some stuff. So she was kind of running in and out, and all the while we've got a couple contractors in there working on the drywall.
How old's Juliet at this time?
Let's see. So this was 2 years ago. So she was 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
About the age of my middle schoolers.
Yeah.
7th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. So she, so we were just, and honestly, I don't really remember much of that at all. I know it's hard. I don't have a good recollection of what's my memory and what's been told to me.
Sure.
On some of these things. So, but yeah. So I start, working on stuff and moving it and
peeing everywhere.
And so we had a little puppy that we had just gotten in I think August. So. She was just a couple months old, and so she was like jumping in and out of the pool and stuff, and which was, I mean, I was over at our house, which was, a good probably 50 feet from the pool. So everybody thinks that I was juggling electrical wires in a pool. Yeah. That was not what was happening. Yeah. I was not even doing anything with the pool per se. Although I was messing with wires that went to the pool equipment 100 feet away.
Right. No, you just said 50 feet a minute ago, so
the pool's 50 feet. The equipment's 100 feet. Don't try to catch me on this, Rob. It's a consistent story. It's not a ghost story. Come on.
Sorry, I was just kidding.
Yeah. So we I'm working on it, and there was I had the electrical. Well, I don't want to get into all the specifics of it, but basically, I had the electrical wires all detached from each other because I was trying to figure out which line was 220 and which one was 110. And so I had Juliet flipping the breakers for me, and I got my little meter there, just checking them out. And I actually had pictures on my phone. That's actually the last thing I have, because I've learned in my remodeling time, always take pictures of your electrical work before you take it all apart, because then you'll never get it back there. So I'm taking it apart and trying to figure stuff out, and basically the next thing happens is I remember. So I don't really remember any of that. That's all kind of just me connecting dots. But my dog jumps in the pool, and I hear her yelping. Not really bad, but and I remember thinking she's getting bit by insects. That was what I thought was happening. So, what's weird is I had like soccer shorts on, and then my work boots and socks, which don't
Shirt off.
don't.
I need the whole picture.
Shirts off,
Okay,
Rob. Of
okay.
course. Come on now, San Diego boy. And I go into the pool to get the dog, but I don't. So I just remember thinking that thought, and that's kind of. I really don't remember a whole lot else. Apparently, the contractor said that I threw the dog out of the pool.
Oh, so they saw you.
So they saw,
run,
yeah,
jump, and get the dog.
yeah. Well, but I don't think I ran. I believe. Well, I know I had my boots on, and so I actually got in the pool. So I must have thought there was something more than insects at some point. I don't know.
Do you remember? Did you take your boots off or
no? Well, we didn't know for a long time, and then there's actually a like a, you probably don't know this. There's actually a YouTube video of my the whole thing. It's like a cops and fire pro look at them first responders.
Okay.
It's, of the incident.
Of like you jumped
with
in the
footage,
pool?
body cam footage, bro. Yeah.
Wait.
No,
yeah,
sorry. Not of me jumping in the pool.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No, like the cops responding. And in that I had my boots
I
on.
I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's good because you can't like find it. It's like mixed in with like 20 other things. So
just making me too sad.
yeah, but so on that I saw my boots. I was like, oh, I did wear my boots in the pool. So I obviously was in some sort of a rush.
What was that like watching that video?
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
I bet
It's kind of weird. It's and I tell people this all the time. Like, I feel like my accident did not happen to me. I feel very third party to it.
Right.
I feel, I know it definitely affected other people, to include my family, obviously, but my friends, right? Like way more than it affected me because
I got to the hospital and you were just laying around.
No, just doing nothing, sleeping.
So thankful we can joke about this now.
Yeah. Me too. And and so like I like went lights out and then lights on, and when I was lights on, I was alive. So there was a whole lot of emotional stuff for me, but yeah. So so the only thing
I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask you one more question. Why do they put all those online or something?
No.
Why'd they put yours up there?
It's like cops. It's like those like compilation of like, hey, these are first responders reacting in Jacksonville, Florida.
So it's like a show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
All right, now I may have to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Sorry,
it's not just like raw footage. In fact, the cop that did CPR on me, he's like, hey, heads up. Somebody requested it, just did a FOIA request. And I'm like, who was it?
Yeah.
It's like some entertainment company or whatever.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It must have been because of my good looks.
Yeah.
That's
this
what
guy
I
has
figured.
his shirt off, boots on, rescuing a puppy.
He's dead. This is great.
He's going to get a lot of
great
looks.
footage. So the only thing I remember, so I was told that I threw out the dog, and then I'm in the shallow end of the pool, so I could walk the whole way.
Right.
So I make my way across the pool, which is 15 feet across in the shallow end. Somehow, I mean, I don't remember that being hard to do or anything like that. And then I grab onto the railing to get out, and the second I grabbed onto the railing, I could not move. And so, I'm in like maybe chest to waist deep water, somewhere in that.
So you don't remember that though, right?
No, I do remember. I remember grabbing onto it and being completely immobilized. And I remember trying to yell, and I couldn't get any voice out.
What was the feeling like?
It was, I don't remember feeling pain.
Okay.
I don't remember being scared. Juliet came out the door. Thank God.
Yeah.
And so she comes out of the door, and I look at her and I go, help me, I'm stuck. Turn off the breaker. That's the last I remember.
Wow.
And I woke up 2.5 days later, or whatever. So I remember thinking, I mean, that was the word I used, right? Stuck. I didn't say I was electrocuted. I don't know that I fully understood what was happening. I mean, I knew it was a breaker, so I knew there was something to do with it, but I don't think I wasn't like panicked. I wasn't like, oh, I'm getting electrocuted and like my hair's standing on end or anything like that. Now that being said, Juliet has since told me that like she like
Yeah,
blood.
what was her vantage point?
Yeah, like blood was coming out of my nose.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I that poor girl.
Yeah. I wasn't expected to get so emotional about this, but
yeah.
I'll try not to. No, but seriously, yeah.
I almost
I've never sat down with you and had like
Yeah.
this much of an in-depth conversation about it. So,
Yeah.
so she ran out. She sees you. So you just held on to the pole?
I couldn't let go.
Okay. And so I'm guessing when she hit the breaker
So there was
helped out.
So this is us piecing some stuff together.
Sure.
So the contractors come out at this point. So at some point before the breaker turns off, I am released and I am unconscious and I go to the bottom of the pool. So I'm underwater at this point, like I said, 3 to 4 feet deep. So
Right.
so they can see me. Well, they try to get me and they're getting shocked. So the contractors grab like our barbecue cover. They're like trying to throw stuff in there to like pull me out.
Right.
But it keeps shocking them through the pool.
So why does it shock them when they try to get in the pool and it didn't shock you? Does that make sense? Because
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, I don't. I don't know.
Okay. I was just curious.
It's a vinyl liner pool, so I don't know if there's part of that if you were like fully in the pool, then you're not grounded.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But whereas if you're standing on the side and you're reaching in and touching it, now you're grounded.
Okay.
So maybe I did just jump in.
Right.
The weird part is I always get out of the pool by just like lifting myself out of the pool. I never go upstairs.
Yeah.
Like I never do that. But for whatever reason, I casually walked to the other side and grabbed onto the railing like a 80-year-old, I guess. I don't know why I would have done that as opposed to just hopping out like I normally did. So
I want to apologize to all the 80-year-old listeners out there.
You have a good 80-year-old?
We got a good fan base.
No, that's not insulting, right?
I know, I'm kidding.
If I was 80, I'd be...
got to add some laughs.
I'd use this. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so there's a bit of chaos in the midst of this. Juliet's shows the people where our breaker box is in our hallway. She had been helping me, right? So she kind of knew what was going on there.
But that's a lot on her, seeing
no
her
kidding,
dad
right?
in that state. Yeah, I mean,
and she like turned it on, which is
the fact that she
I'm
didn't
impressed
just
by that
shut
girl.
down. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so then the contractors. Oh, by the way, the contractors are Brazilian Portuguese speaking. Mm-hmm. They don't speak English.
Okay.
And so at some point there's like some miscommunication. Juliet ends up slapping one of them
on the face,
like in the frantic like what are we supposed to do type of thing. She ends up slapping one of them.
I taught her well.
Yeah.
When in doubt, slap a face.
Yeah. So anyway, so they end up getting the breaker off, and one of the guys jumps into the pool and pulls me out, and then they start doing CPR on me.
How long do you think you were in the water, or have people told you?
They think that, I think we conclude that I was in the water for about 3 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Because the amount of time that it took them to kind of figure out stuff and be confident enough to get in the pool, which, I mean, that's a whole other piece, right? Like, thank goodness my daughter didn't jump in the pool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to try to help me or either one of these guys, right?
Yeah.
In fact,
that's a God thing, you getting out the breaker part to her.
Yeah.
Because she probably would have tried to help you. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and that was the first thing I asked when I woke up. I wrote it was, "Are they okay?" Because I was like, "What?" So somehow, I've never really thought about this before. I don't know why I was thinking about they or who they was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would guess you're asking about your girls, right? Or I mean, who knows, man?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm like
after all that.
Yeah. So
ghosts that were in the room.
Okay, exactly. So then they do CPR on me, and these guys are both Christians. And they're one guy goes and he's like just praying down by one of the trees in our yard, and the other guy is doing. I mean, I think they're both doing CPR. Whatever. These are just the stories that I've heard. And they don't know how to do it, right? But they're just keeping to the beat of YMCA, or whatever they're doing, right?
That's how I learned to do it.
Yep. First I was afraid. So yeah, so they do CPR. So in the midst of this, so then Juliet goes and calls 911, right? And which again, well, actually, she doesn't have a phone because she's 12, right? So she runs into Ava and wakes her up and goes, "Give me your phone." And he call 911 or call 911 with your phone or whatever. So Ava dials it, gives the phone to Juliet, and Juliet goes, "Ava." Now we live like 100, right? You've been to our house. Your audience probably has not, but I hope
it's 1207.
Yeah. Shh. I mean, we're like a good 100 yards off the road, and it's really hard to find our driveway.
Right.
And so Juliet, my youngest, tells my middle daughter, "Go run out to the end of the road to flag down the ambulance." Which I'm like,
wow.
Which they had something with Ava. We had called the ambulances before, and so that was exercised prior. But great honor for thinking about it, right?
Absolutely.
So then Juliet gets on the phone with 911 and goes, "This is what's going on. I need a translator." And so they put a Spanish-speaking translator on the phone. And she gives the phone to these guys who then listen to Spanish, and they don't know Spanish because they speak Portuguese. But to Juliet, she's like, she couldn't tell the difference, right?
Sure. I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah, totally, right? And so they ended up doing CPR for about 8 minutes. And then the cop showed up, and then he did CPR for about another 7 minutes until the paramedics got there. And then, so I think the total, my numbers might be off a little bit. Anyway, the total number added up to about 15 minutes of how long it was. And then, so then
I mean, you're basically staying alive because they're doing that.
Right.
I don't know much about,
the
ins and outs of that, but they're putting breath into your body and
keeping the blood going to my brain to some extent. Right now, this was October, so I think because the water was a little bit colder, that was good too. Apparently, I guess. So, but I had no pulse, no nothing.
Wow.
Like my heart was not going at all for 15 minutes, and then the paramedics get there. And this is actually on the video, so I actually know what happened. But so they like clear him away, and then and by the way, the cop, I think he's done CPR like 5 times, which is like a lot. And I think he said like he's like 4 for 5, like people like he's gotten all sorts of awards and stuff. I mean, he's awesome. So he was the right guy to show up, and so they so the paramedics come in, and then it ends up being, and there's all sorts of cool God sovereignty stuff in this that, he, you remember those firemen that, I think they're firemen, maybe paramedics, that got lost at sea? Do you remember that story that these 2 guys were out on a fishing boat and then they were just gone, right? Yeah. And nobody, so that morning they were having the memorial like parade and stuff for them.
Okay.
And so everybody was at that. When the call happened, and so like the timing, like it had just ended, and the paramedics were the fire department was right there with the cop, and so they get the call and they're like, "It just ended, okay, we can go," type of a thing. Right. So anyway, like the timing, they were way closer than they would have been. And then the guys from Fruit Cove, the paramedics from Fruit Cove came up, and they intubated me. Like field intubation, which normally that like causes damage, but not even a sore throat after all of this.
Wow.
And they shocked me once, and I mean this is on the video. They shocked me, and they're like, "All right, we got a pulse." Yeah. And then
wow, that's on the video.
Yeah.
You and me have that in common. We've both been shocked by the pads.
I know it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yours sounds more successful though, because they shocked me with it. And I was in the hospital. Like, this is when I had my heart arrhythmia thing. So my heart was beating too fast. So they shocked it to try to get it to stop. And so they're like, "Do you want to be put to sleep?" I was like, "Absolutely. Go ahead and put me to sleep." And I woke up and I look over, and Becca and my mom, my sister there. And when I see them, I smile. And blood starts coming out of my mouth. Turns out they forgot to put like the thing in your mouth.
Oh, jeez.
So I bit a hole through my tongue. But yeah, I'll take that over your experience. any
Nice.
day.
Nice.
I'm not trying to compare. I'm just saying we both got shocked.
Isn't that amazing? Let's see, you shock to stop a heart and you shock to start a heart.
Yeah.
How does the heart know?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, man.
So how does somebody live without a heartbeat for 15 minutes? Is that possible?
Well, I did a bunch of research just because I was, basically, they broke every rib that I had in my rib cage. So I had, I had some time to heal on that. But
I had a couple rookies doing that CPR.
I think you're supposed to break ribs. I think that's what they say.
Wow.
If you're not breaking ribs during CPR, I don't think you're doing it right.
Man, you got to get to that heart.
It's your opportunity to break some bones, baby. Jeez, it's morbid. Yeah, so I don't know where I was going to go with that.
So we were at where they got your heartbeat back.
Yeah.
So where is Melissa, your wife, throughout this whole thing? And how does she get notified? When does she show up?
Yeah, so my daughter that's waving down the ambulance, the neighbor comes out, and they ended up calling Melissa. Well, Melissa's at Orange Theory with Kylie and doesn't have her phone on her, and then sees the missed call and then calls back, and the neighbor answers, right? It's like a 904 number that she doesn't know, right? And she's like, why is the neighbor calling me? And so I think Melissa would describe her response as not cool, calm, and collected. So
who
you can
could blame her?
describe that.
Absolutely.
So they actually had a couple other girlfriends of my daughter in the car too, and so they drove, and they were right there at basically Walmart there at off San Jose at 295, and she just guns it, runs every light and gets home, and to like fire trucks and ambulances all the way. And cops just all over the place.
What does the neighbor tell her? I mean, does she know what's going on, or just that you're injured?
She gives the phone to Juliet.
Oh, okay.
And Juliet says, basically something to the effect of, actually, Juliet left a message first.
Oh,
hey, I need you to come home. Something happened with Daddy. Then Melissa calls, and Juliet says, something happened with Daddy.
Yeah. No, I get it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it because I have no idea.
And
but, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an emotional story, man.
It is. And she, and Melissa's like, is he alive? And she couldn't answer, because she didn't know. So, but yeah, so they whisked me off down to Baptist South and put me in a hypothermic coma.
So they drive you down there?
Yeah, ambulance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Helicopter.
Yeah, no, just they drove me and put me in a hypothermic coma, and the technology that they had to do that is only 8 years old, which is crazy to think that 10 years ago, right? Same thing, and the technology to put somebody in a hypothermic coma didn't exist. I guess
explain that to us.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah. Apparently, it basically slows your body functions down, slows any of the damage to your brain, right? That would happen from a lack of blood. And apparently it did, other than I lose my train of thought every once in a while, but that could just be because I'm 41,
Once in a while? You should be in my head for a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always listening.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. And so it was, 2.5, days of Melissa and everybody, you and Becca and everybody rallying around my family and just supporting them. And, it's super, super humbling to know that just, you don't often get to see a glimpse of how your family would be taken care of if you weren't around.
Right. Yeah.
So,
what were the doctors telling Melissa during all this? I'm going to move my chair. Probably hear it. Sorry. All right, go ahead.
They, they didn't know.
Yeah.
The pool electrocutions don't have a really good track record.
Yeah.
They thought that it was pretty reasonable that there'd be some sort of brain damage.
Sure.
They...
And that was there before the accident as well.
Sure. Yes. was. Yeah, and and so Melissa's like, I mean, I think Melissa's major concern was, is he going to remember me?
Yeah.
Is he going to know me?
Yeah.
Or is he going to be a vegetable, or what is this going to look like?
Sure.
And those are the things that she was just kind of thinking of, and and then they did an MRI, and they're like, his brain looks like it's okay. We don't see anything, and then it's just a matter of time. I don't know exactly what the criteria was to I don't know what it's called, de-intubate me or whatever, pull the tube out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get this thing out of here, man. Get that nurse. Yeah, man. And so I come to, and I see Juliet, and Melissa said that like I was like off and on, right? Because I'd been drugged up and stuff. And
low blow, bro.
What?
Low blow.
It's got drugs and laugh. I got to talk about my drugs part, right? It's the best I got, Rob. So I'd come to, ask what happened, cry, and then pass out.
Yeah.
And then I'd come to, ask what happened, cry, and pass out. And Melissa's going, oh no.
Right.
Right? Like,
sure.
Like, does he have no ability to even remember, anything?
Right. Now, what did she think when you woke up, cried, and said, I need Rob? Did she say anything about that?
Where's Rob?
Why did Rob leave me? That's called a callback, folks.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
So go ahead.
Do they know you're going to wake up at this time, or
when they start to wake me up? Yeah, it's
Okay.
intentional.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the family's there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I know your brother was in town.
Yeah,
by
my
then.
brother flew in.
Your parents here yet?
No, my parents didn't come out. But yeah, my brother came. My brother was here by like that night
I
at like
remember him
midnight
being
or
here
something. Yeah,
pretty quick.
Yeah, and then they and so the time that I finally, like, Juliet's right by my bed and I wink at her, and that was the first time that, like, they were like, oh, he knows who this is, know. And then I couldn't talk. I wasn't allowed to talk. And nor could I don't think, but they so give me a pad of paper, and so I actually still have the piece of paper. It's kind of cool. Yeah. It's behind a frame on our wall, but it's, and I wrote, how are they?
Right.
And it looks like a,
Sure.
2-year-old wrote it or whatever. And yeah. And so then it was just slowly, it probably took me about a week to actually get the ability for me to speak like normal. I was talking really slow. You probably remember that.
Yeah,
I was just talking really slow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But it, so I mean, some of the things like the God part of it, when I first started telling the story, I was like, man, that was a miracle. And I was like, well, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm a little bit of an analytical guy, so
yeah. And so I can totally see you trying to disprove.
I'm trying to disprove my own story. I mean, honestly, that's where I was at.
Sure.
And I go,
but you take stuff like that serious. When you talk about God and you're not flippant with it. So I can see you wanting to do
and I'm
that.
not going to sit. I don't want to sit around going, "Oh, this is a miracle." When some scientist or doctors can be like, "Well, it's not. It's because of this."
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I looked up a lot for how long can you go right without brain or blood in your brain and stuff like that. And they actually don't. There's no time that they tell people to stop CPR. They say continue CPR as long as you can.
Okay.
Because they don't know. They've seen people have no blood to their brain for 4 minutes and they never come to. And then they've had stories like mine where 15 minutes of CPR and they come to and they're fine. And so the medical recommendation is always keep doing CPR, right? Because you are literally pushing the blood into the places that it needs to go to keep the person alive,
right?
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
super crazy. Just to think that, So,
yeah.
But yeah, so I don't look at it as a miracle, honestly. Okay. I look at it as, and that's why you're like, oh, he died and came back to life. I don't want to take a Lazarus story or anything like that. I know.
We're not selling this. Just kidding.
but
He
God,
rose again. I'm just kidding.
but God's sovereignty in it is
Sure.
all over it, and His fingerprints are all over it. I mean, honestly, like those contractors, if they had showed up on time,
Mm-hmm.
what would have happened?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever had contractors show up 2 hours early?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the miracle.
Yeah.
No. Right? And so they show up early. And the reason they showed up early, so talking to these guys afterwards, like the dude's bike breaks, a motorcycle. And so he couldn't get to their other job site. And so he texts the boss and goes, "Hey, can we go here because my bike's broken because it's closer and I can make it there."
Right.
At the same time, the boss, wakes up in the morning and goes, "You know what? Let's go to the KASSEBAUM house first."
Wow.
Just for whatever reason.
Sure.
So they just have this. And then he's like, "Oh, that works out great with the bike. Oh, yeah, sure. Let's do that."
Yeah.
Backing up even more is the guy didn't even want it was an insurance job. And they had actually come out before and repaired some of the drywall, but the roof was jacked up. And so it had a problem again. And so they had to come back out to do it again. And it was like a cheap job. The guy's
Sure.
like, "It's not worth my time." His wife was like, "Let's do the job." And he's like, "Why? Why would I go and spend this much time on something that is not going to pay that much?" For whatever reason, they did. And then, there's just right. So the day that I was going to do that, my boss ended up needing me to brief, but that I would have been home by myself.
Does brief mean
Sorry.
fly your fighter jets with your shirts off?
Unfortunately,
Only in your briefs?
Unfortunately, yes. Oh my gosh, boxers.
Sorry.
No, it's just like whatever.
You don't have to tell me. Yeah.
No, it's
I don't
just
wanna
me.
get
It's me. It's me giving me a summary of whatever dumb work I was doing. So had I done it on Thursday, Melissa and the girls would have all been at school.
Wow.
And the same thing presumably would have happened.
Sure.
And they would have come home to me floating in the pool. So there's just a bunch. And then, like I said, there's a lot more details to like the paramedics and the cop and it was super cool to watch God, kind of orchestrate all these things that, I can't say that all of those are coincidence.
Sure.
So,
yeah. I mean, you think about Juliet, all the thing that she was doing to help in the situation.
Yeah.
Like you said, the cop, the police officer who showed up that had won awards for saving people and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that dude was humping too.
Yeah.
8 minutes of CPR is not for the weak.
Hey, man, stop humping there.
Oh my gosh. See that? We
back.
circled back around. We did that.
This police officer over
Working
there humping there.
Working hard. Is that not a common expression? Anyway.
I just kidding.
All right, that's probably my military verbiage comes out more often than maybe it should. Apologize. It's hard work. And talking to this guy, and he's stacked, man. He's like strong, which is why my ribs are broken. But he's like, dude, I had to swap sides just to get a breath.
Wow.
Because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, thanks, bro.
How long did you say he was doing it?
Like 8 minutes.
Yeah, that's got to be forever when you're doing CPR on somebody. Yeah, so, I mean, first of all, thanks for sharing all that. I know it's an emotional story, but like you said, it's cool to see God's hands in it, in those areas. And so how has God used that story now? I mean, I know it was on the news, all over the news here in Jacksonville, Florida, but are there any other ways? I mean, you can talk about that, how that experience was, or.
Yeah. Miracle Man. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Oh my gosh, it was crazy.
He walks on water. No, he doesn't. We learned he does not walk on water.
Yeah. It was a good news story, right?
Sure.
That I think was needed at the time, and the news jumped on it and enjoyed it.
Yeah. So whose idea was it to have footage of you flying your jet on the news? Was that your suggestion?
Flying my jet?
Weren't you like flying? I thought you were like taking off and coming back in.
Dude, they did like 3 news stories on me,
Yeah.
man.
And I'm obviously Jonathan's one of the most humble people I know, and he will tell you he's not. That's because he's humble. So I obviously know that's not true, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah. So, I mean, they did the original story, right? And I don't even know, I think it was a friend of Melissa's that went to church with somebody who is on News for Jax or something like that, right? And so they got wind of it, and then it was like, hey, would you guys want to do a story? So that was like the first one. Well, then, we're Facebook friends with some people, and right. And so now every time something happens, they like see it or hear of it. Right. And they're like, oh, we want, let's run a story on that. So when I got cleared to fly again, so let's see, so this happened late October. I went back so I stopped working. I stopped preaching until December, and the church just covered down and had a bunch of other guys preaching and stuff. And
they kind of knew how to handle crisis due to a former pastor we will not mention.
It's me. Sorry.
Hey, God's hand in that too, right?
Amen. And and so I go back to work in January, and then they didn't know what to do, right? So the Air Force was trying to figure out, what do you do?
Sure.
Like what is how do we trust this guy in a single seat fighter?
Yeah.
How do we know that something's not going to happen? So they sent me up to Ohio. I had to run through a bunch of tests and stuff. And
and all your guys were there. I don't know what y'all call it, the team or whatever.
Squadron.
I remember them all being at the hospital as well.
Yeah, they actually did a flyover too. They were. I mean, it's like en route. I shouldn't say that. It was not a flyover.
It's not like
technically
we're going to go do a flyover.
Yeah,
it just happened to be flying.
It's
over.
like on the return from
we'll say that.
Space. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. The support was incredible, and it was definitely a rough time for our family, and it was super cool to see everybody kind of rally around them and stuff, and but yeah, and yeah, so they ended up. So when I went back to fly, when they finally cleared me to fly, then they're like, "Oh, let's do a story on that." And then last March, I decided to stop flying, and so they're like, "Oh, let's do a story on that." So I'm like,
"Oh, I didn't see that." Story.
Yeah, so there's been like 3 of them. It's like, so
why am I the 4th media outlet that gets the story?
I know.
Why
well, you first? Didn't. I mean, honestly, Rob, you didn't reach out to me until recently.
I honestly didn't have a podcast. Then,
I mean,
so,
your wife before me on the podcast. Rob?
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, you need to think through some of these decisions you're making.
Y'all have some drama going on because she's jealous of you right now. The people are demanding her back. We got to get Jonathan on here. No. So do you have time to stay for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
So I saved this for last because it's not the important part, or most important part, obviously, family and all that. But so for our story, like I said, I think I said earlier, you were a pastor in our church. I had become lead pastor, and you were a lay elder. I guess I meant you're still that. I don't know if you want me to say that, but still don't get paid by the church. Which if you're looking for a church that's not focused on money, the Crossing Church in Fruit Cove, St. John's. But seriously, I do recommend it. So I went for a long time. The way you remember, I've talked about this, but I got hooked on Adderall, started taking too much of it, and then got on other substances. And I remember you saying this, like, man, you're turning out a lot of good work. And it was because I was up for like 48 hours just working on work. But then the next 27 days were horrible because I didn't have my prescription anymore. But I mean, slowly I started to become somebody who I'm not, right? Addiction really changes who you are. So I quit showing up for meetings or canceled, and I'd be sweating everywhere on stage. So, I mean, there were noticeable things where you guys were asking, what was going on and wanting to help me, right? Mm-hmm. If there was any place, any church where I could have raised my hand and said, I'm struggling, it was our church, right? Still is, where you're the pastor. But I guess I look back on all that stuff and I just didn't think I had a problem. And that's common in addiction, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not like them or like that. And so I didn't even know what addiction was and what I was going through. And, I made up stuff to kind of try to cover myself, and you guys did great giving me 30 days or whatever just to rest. And Becca didn't even know what was going on, right? Because I wasn't revealing it.
Right.
And then, so I remember coming back, and Becca, and I'm guessing you had a part of that, but found a place, rehab, for me to go. And I said I would go, and then I didn't want to go, right? And so I left. I think the day I was supposed to go is when I left the house and just left and said, I'm going to go away for a while. And I wound up, I was gone for 2 or 3 days, maybe 4, I can't remember. There's been a couple of these trips, unfortunately, but I wound up in Waycross, Georgia. So, and I remember I wasn't telling anybody where I was. And Becca, I had talked to her, I think through email, and said, I'm really hungry. Could you send me some food? And I said, you have to promise not to tell anybody where I am. And Becca, being the awesome wife she is, was obviously not going to hold to that because I wasn't in my right mind. And I just remember it's like 4 a.m. I don't know, 3 a.m. The desk calls and it's like, hey, you have some visitors down here. And I just said, no thanks. And I hung up because, I was still drunk. Even though I'd fallen asleep, I was still drunk. And then the next call was you. And I was like, oh no, this guy always tries to come find me. Yeah. And then, I remember that as happily going because I was stuck, right? I didn't know what to do. Wasn't in my right mind. So, but you guys drove like, I don't know, 3, I think it's 2 hours up there, maybe 2 hours back, something like that, in the middle of the night to get me, you and Spencer Bolter. And so I say all that because to show like how great of a friend you are. And in the midst of that, I came back and things continued to get worse. And I don't remember half the stuff I said to you, but I know it was horrible, right? So texting and all this, just about things that were going on in my head because I wasn't in my right mind. Sure. And so, and I just remember talking to you about that, apologizing to you about that. And you said, well, I just knew that wasn't who you were. And I know that you wouldn't usually say those things to me. Right. But so we were just coming out of that where I had been horrible to you, a horrible friend, said horrible things to you when you didn't deserve it because you were the one fighting for me. Right. Unfortunately, in addiction, the ones you really hurt are those who are closest to you, right? And those who are trying to help you. But we were just coming out of that. It was pretty fresh when this happened. Yeah. I remember you telling me like, when you came back, that was one of the worries. Like, oh, I hope Rob doesn't go and use because all this. Because it was a lot of guilt and all that. So I was driving for Uber at this time, and Ezra, a mutual friend, called me and said, hey, did you hear about Jonathan? And I was like, no. And so I forget what he told me, but I knew you were in the hospital. So I came and picked up, I did. I came and picked up Becca and we came to the hospital right then. Do you remember me coming back in the room with Melissa and touching your toes?
I don't.
I was tickling
I'm
those toes.
sure you did, Rob.
I even held hands with your toes like Becca does with hers. But yeah, just coming back there and seeing you like that, and man, just praying like, for God to save you, to help you, to come through it. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a rough time, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Like from your perspective to hear things, to see how your family would be cared for. Because not only obviously, the guys in the military that are around you, but like church showed up big and just friends in general, family showed up and, did an awesome job. Yeah. Trying to help as much as they could in the situation. So I'm just glad that you came out of it. I know our friendship was fine then, but on my side of things, just to repair it to where it is now,
Yeah.
and I've come so far in my recovery, just understanding, not saying like certain amount of days or anything, but just understanding recovery. And, when I do have those times where I'm struggling or I may relapse, I can tell you, I don't have any fear to tell you now. And so that was a big thing for me, just worrying about what other people were thinking about me. But you played a huge part in that, just kind of being real and knowing that there would be no judgment or anything. So I just want to thank you in front of all these people listening for being such a great friend. And, Becca definitely kept me alive, and you definitely kept me alive. Obviously, it was different ways, but definitely did. So
I'm glad you're still alive, brother.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it was easier than others, but
Sure.
I think just realizing that you were a victim in it is what, like, I'm like, this isn't Rob.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, I knew you. I know you.
Yeah.
And you're my homie.
Yeah. I got you to finally say I love you to me.
You did.
Yeah. It took a while, probably like a year.
I know.
Love you, Jonathan. I think you said it on stage in front of the whole church.
I did.
Yeah.
For your birthday or something. I think I sang happy birthday to you too or something. I'm just
that's
joking.
true.
I didn't do that.
So I like to, I said you helped save my life, but I like to think I helped save your life when I was tickling those toes when we were back there in that special room.
I think the prayer might have been more effective.
Could you? No, don't ruin this moment for me.
The toe tickling.
Don't. So next time you go on the news, tell them about the toe tickling.
Toe tickle.
All right.
This is it.
Well, man, anything else you want to add?
No, brother.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you did an awesome job explaining everything. And yeah, I can't wait to go to the news with this podcast and sell it. No, but thanks so much, man. That's going to be the end of our topic of the day.
It's been great being here. Thanks, Rob.
Absolutely. We're not done, though.
Okay.
I have some suggestions for you and you and you. I've been doing this here for 41 years. A whole lot of blood and a whole lot of tears. So why don't you just sit right down in that chair and let go of all your worries and your fears. I have some suggestions for you and you and you, especially you in the back not listening. Here are suggestions with Matt and Rob. All right, here are your suggestions of the week. I'll get us started. This is a shameless suggestion and plug. So on iTunes, I think it's on Spotify now. Should be getting on YouTube soon as well. It's going to be on all the major platforms where you can find music. I released a couple singles. One is called Nostalgia. The other one is called Kane. So Kane is the guy I become when I use. And Jonathan, unfortunately, got to meet Kane very many times. So that song, I think I've played it on here, but where I'm kind of putting him to death and talking to him about everything. So those are out now. If you can go check it out, tell a friend, that would be awesome. And then on Friday, I'm going to release the whole album. So on Friday, that'll be up on iTunes, and then it takes like a week or so to get on Spotify and YouTube and all that. But would appreciate your support. My name on there is Rob Christy, Christy. And the name of the album is Becoming Me. So check it out. Rob Christy, Becoming Me. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, just don't tell me. Sound good? It is hip hop, by the way, if you're wondering what genre it is. All right. So now we're going to head on over to Jonathan. Do you have a suggestion or something that's making your life easier, something you're enjoying for the people?
Well, I don't know. I was trying to figure out a something profound or something as good as what you just dropped, but I will throw out.
You could do
book.
CPR training.
CPR, I do recommend CPR training. No, actually, a book that I read recently that was pretty cool. That I couldn't remember the author, so I was just looking it up there as you were talking.
Sure.
I wasn't listening to you. It's called The Gospel Comes with a House Key.
Gospel comes with a house key.
Yeah, it's written by Rosaria Butterfield.
What's up, Rosario?
It's really good. It's just, and it's like, it's hospitality. It's like, it's talking about like kind of, she spends a lot of time of where she was living in a, kind of a dark place in her life. And then, she got invited over for dinner, and it was just super casual, and it was just, they were just being hospitable.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that, like, I don't know, I've been wrestling with it for the last couple of years of just like, what does it look like now for us to be hospitable? When we're all kind of a closed off society, and we Uber Eats and we go through a self checkout lane, so we don't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all this stuff where we get more and more, but from a hospitality perspective, and it's obviously biblical, and it's like, man, like it's awesome, and even like just you and me sitting here right now, like this is just us being friends and not being consumed with other stuff in our lives. And so anyway, I recommend hospitality, if that's
cool.
Can I do that? Is that okay?
That's great. Yeah. Matt always recommends a book because he's a big reader. So hopefully Matt will be back soon. Continue to pray for him and his family as they continue to mourn the death of his father. So as you can imagine, that's a very tough thing. But Matt loves you, and he'll be back as soon as he can. Until then, we'll have some guest co-hosts on, like the muscular, sexy Jonathan KASSEBAUM. He just looked at me with a look of disgust.
Oh, stop it.
All right, man. But thanks for coming on. This was great, and we'll have you back on.
Awesome.
One of the things that I've shared is just struggling with my faith and what that is and what I believe. And so it'd be cool to kind of have you on to maybe we could just talk about it over here, because I know a lot of my struggles other people are having as well. And then, to hear, I love your point of view on these things, because a lot of times when I talk to people who aren't Christians specific, they always say that, oh, well, a lot of the Christians I know aren't rational, right? They don't have rational thinking or think through stuff. And so I know you're the opposite of that, right? You're a deep thinker, just like you're trying to disprove that this was a God miracle and saving your life, that you have that kind of brain. And unfortunately, I never group all Christians into that, but there are some, that don't know what they believe.
Yeah.
They believe it, but they don't know why, and, haven't thought through it. So, which is totally okay. Everybody is welcome with Jesus,
Sure.
and that's what I always tell the kids at my school when I do our chapel time.
Yeah.
It's like, read Jesus, before you judge him on all these preconceived notions and things like that. And just to clarify, this isn't a Christian podcast. All are welcome. We discuss God. But, because they think, oh, I got to go to church. I got to do this, wear this. And like you said, this book, Jesus, his main thing he wants you to do is just love other people well.
Yeah.
And in loving other people well, we actually, in return, obviously get God, not the action, but Jesus' call, is completely grace. So it's not like we're earning anything. But in return to living a life focused on God and focused on others, we get what we've always been looking for, is what I believe, is that God-shaped hole filled. Yeah. And it's not just by saying I'm a follower of this God or that God that fills it, but actually taking action and loving people well, which is why I got that tattoo, love well. It's actually to remind myself, not to tell other people, but to not only love other people well, but love myself well. And this is probably the longest outro we've had. But I just enjoy talking to you. So.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Love you, Jonathan.
Love you too, Rob.
All right, brother. So thankful you're still here and that I'm still here so we can have this podcast.
Amen, brother.
We're miracles.
You know it.
All right. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll see you next week.